3 bone-chilling stories. My creepy neighbor came closer at midnight. You won't sleep tonight. The night was thick with shadows, swirling around like ghosts, as if the very air was alive with secrets. A faint rustling echoed behind the thin walls of Emma's apartment, causing her heart to leap. At exactly midnight, a figure loomed in the darkened hallway. Her neighbor, Mr. Holloway, was known for his curious habits, but tonight felt different. He always lingered too long, watching, never sleeping, never blinking. Was that a whisper she heard, or just her imagination running wild? What really sent chills down her spine was the way he seemed to vanish at night, only to reappear with new, unsettling oddities. A strange collection of silent dolls, their eyes gleaming in the moonlight, stood near his window, sitting vigil over an unseen darkness. The air was thick with the scent of something sweet yet rotting. Emma couldn't quite place it, but it lingered like a predator lying in wait. Each time she passed his door, a shiver crept up her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching her. The way he tilted his head as she walked by sent a jolt through her like an electric shock. She often caught glimpses of him in her peripheral vision, standing just close enough to the edge of the shadows, wrapped in darkness. Breaths lodged tightly in her throat as dread filled her chest, but she couldn't ignore the pull to discover more about him. One evening, she gathered the courage to knock, her knuckles trembling against the wood. No one answered, but she heard soft whispering from within, curling around her ears like an ice-cold breeze. "Who are you talking to?" she murmured under her breath, stepping back. The whispers stopped abruptly, making the silence even louder, a pause thick with anticipation. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Emma's palms were sweaty as she returned to her apartment, pulse racing, unable to shake the feeling that something unspeakable was brewing just beyond her door. She woke up later that night, the sound of scratching clawing at her senses. It was coming from the wall. His wall. Was he digging? Or was it something far more sinister? She pressed her ear against the cool plaster, the pounding of her heart loud in her ears. With a shaky breath, she whispered, "What do you want?" In that moment, a cold laugh echoed back, a chilling response that sent a jolt of terror spiraling through her. She stumbled back, her mind racing, as her frail sense of safety shattered like glass. Was it him? Or was it something worse? Emma's resolve faltered. What secrets did Mr. Holloway hold? And why did he feel so close, yet so unreachable? The scratching resumed, relentless and rhythmic, as if the walls were whispering the secrets of the dark. Emma sank into her sheets, the thin fabric doing little to shield her from the mounting dread. She buried her head beneath the pillow, desperate to drown out the sinister noise, but it only grew louder, more frantic. Was he really digging? Or was it something else, something that prowled just beneath the surface? A flicker of amber light illuminated the hallway. She dared to glance outside her window. Mr. Holloway moved like a specter in the night, a flickering candle illuminating his erratic behavior. He carried a small lantern, its light dancing ominously as he moved with purpose. The dolls, his ever-watchful audience, were now placed on the balcony, as if they were glaring at her, their painted smiles twisting into grotesque grins. Emma held her breath. What was he doing? Curiosity wrestled with fear, pulling her closer to the edge of her sanity. She slipped out of bed, heart thrumming in her chest like a bass drum. She tiptoed to the door, every creak of the floor beneath her felt like a scream echoing through the silence. The urge to beckon him, to confront him, grew stronger with each passing moment. Cautiously, she opened her door a crack. Darkness yawned behind her, and she could just make out Mr. Holloway moving in the flickering light, kneeling at the base of the wall outside. What was he digging for? As she peered closer, her breath caught was that a shape emerging from the ground? She felt cold terror coil in her stomach when she recognized the outline of what appeared to be a small box. What could possibly hold such significance that he would dig in the dead of night? She didn't realize she was holding her breath until it escaped in a sharp gasp. The sound caught Mr. Holloway's attention. He froze, head snapping up, the lantern's light illuminating his hollow eyes. For a second, they locked gazes, hers filled with horror and his with a wicked thrill. The silence thickened, it wrapped around Emma like a vice, squeezing the air from her lungs. In an instant, he sprang up, the box clutched in one hand while he held the lantern up high in the other. "You shouldn't have come out here," he hissed, the shadows elongating his figure into something nightmarish. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but her feet felt cemented to the floor. "What do you want?" she croaked, the words barely escaping her trembling lips. With an eerie grin, he took a step closer. "Oh, Emma, you have no idea." His voice dropped to a whisper, chilling her bones. "You're about to find out." Suddenly, he turned and ran, disappearing around the corner of the building. The box slipped from his grip, thudding against the ground. She moved instinctively, moving toward it, curiosity propelling her forward even as dread pulsed through her veins. The moonlight revealed a crudely carved wooden box, dusty and aged. Her fingers trembled as she reached down, drawn by an irresistible urge. What was inside? Would it hold the answers she craved about Mr. Holloway? Or would it unleash something she could never cage again? As she lifted the lid, a sound echoed through the night, the unmistakable click of a lock engaging somewhere deep within the darkened hallway. What had she just unearthed? And what other horrors awaited her? The moment Emma lifted the lid, a shiver ran down her spine. Inside the box lay an assortment of objects, each seemingly innocent but suffused with a heavier meaning. A frayed piece of lace, a tiny porcelain heart, and what looked like a lock of hair tied with a thread, all mingled with dust that had settled over years of neglect. What had she just disturbed? As the contents glinted in the moonlight, she felt something awaken within the house. The walls seemed to shift, breathing with an effort that echoed in her ears. A hollow sound reverberated through the corridor behind her, the darkness swelling as if something malicious was waking from a long slumber. Emma's heart raced. What if this box held the very secrets of her home? She glanced around, half expecting Mr. Holloway to leap out from the shadows, but the night was still. The wind rustled through the leaves, carrying an unsettling silence. She dared to peer into the box again, her hand hovering over the delicate items, one finger grazing the lock of hair. A haunting whisper seemed to call to her, drawing her deeper into the mystery. At that moment, the scratching noise from earlier resumed, louder now, ferocious. It clawed at the fabric of her thoughts, intertwining her sense of reality with pure terror. She squeezed her eyes shut, wishing it would all vanish, wishing for morning light to dispel the malevolence that had clearly draped her life. But darkness had its grip. Then, a soft voice broke through, chilling her to the core. "What have you done?" It was barely a whisper, yet it floated through the air like smoke. Emma spun around, eyes wide, heart pounding against her ribcage. "Who is there?" she mouthed, voice caught in her throat. The shadows wavered, and in an instant, Mr. Holloway stood before her again, half hidden behind the veil of darkness. His expression was twisted in a manner that mixed desperation with triumph. "You shouldn't have looked. The box is not meant for you." "What do you mean?" Emma's voice crackled, a mix of indignation and fear. "What is happening?" "The things inside," he replied, voice low, almost reverent. "They are not forgotten, they are still connected. You have released what was meant to stay buried." Panic surged through her veins. Was the box linked to the scratching? To whatever had been haunting her in the night? She didn't have time to ask the questions swirling in her mind. All she could focus on was the fear flooding over her. It was almost tangible, thick, invading her senses. "Get away from me!" she shouted, stepping backward, clutching the box tightly, as if it were a shield. But he advanced, closing the gap, the lantern casting shadows over his face that twisted like the very objects she had found. "Emma," he said softly, almost coaxing her, "you cannot deny what you've uncovered. They will come for you. They will come for both of us." That's when the scratching escalated, an overwhelming cacophony echoing through the night. It was coming from the walls, the floor, the very foundation of her home. Emma felt the ground tremble beneath her feet, as if whatever lay dormant within was waking hungry and vengeful. "Run!" Mr. Holloway shouted as he lunged forward, but before she could react, the door behind her was flung open violently. A figure stood silhouetted against the pale light, a grotesque shape mirroring the dolls outside. "Emma," it hissed, the voice dripping with malice. She turned to flee, breath caught in her throat. What was happening? What was she involved in? As she dashed down the hallway, shadows danced around her, revealing countless eyes watching from the corners, eyes that were all too familiar, but behind her, footsteps echoed hard and unforgiving. And just as she thought she was free, her foot caught on a loose floorboard, a shriek escaping her lips as she tumbled forward. What awaited her in the darkness, and what grip would this cursed place have on her soul? Emma hit the floor with a thud, the box flying from her grip, skidding across the polished wood. Panic surged through her veins, a firestorm igniting her senses as shadows closed in. Her breath came in desperate bursts, the air thickening, suffocating her with its weight. "Get up! Get up!" she urged herself, scrambling to her feet. The scratching intensified, wild and erratic, like 1,000 nails clawing at the walls. The whispers came next, low, sinister murmurs weaving through the darkness, their meaning elusive but the tone unmistakably threatening. She caught a glimpse of the figure lurking just beyond the doorway, grotesque and shrouded in shadow, a twisted reflection of the dolls that now seemed to mock her from the corners of the room. "Emma," it hissed again, its voice a rasp that sent chills spiraling down her spine. With a surge of adrenaline, she dove for the box, clutching at it as if it were a life raft amidst a stormy sea. The items inside, now partially revealed in the dim light, seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. There was a strange pull, something darker than fear, drawing her closer to the frayed lace and porcelain heart. "Leave it!" Mr. Holloway's voice rang out, urgent and panicked. The fear in his eyes mirrored her own, but she couldn't afford to think about that now. The figure was stepping forward, an almost gliding motion that was both horrifying and mesmerizing. She bolted past him, her heart racing as the scratching morphed into a rhythmic drumming, echoing inside her head. The house felt alive, the walls shifting and closing in around her. Each second stretched into infinity as she tore down the corridor, her bare feet slapping against the hard floor. Emma reached the staircase, desperate to escape the malevolence below. She dashed upward, adrenaline pushing her forward. Every step sent vibrations through her body, as if the house was protesting her escape. But the figure followed, relentless, as she could hear it drawing closer, gaining speed with a ferocious hunger. "Emma! Listen to me!" Mr. Holloway shouted from below, his voice rising above the chaos. She faltered for just a second, a swirl of doubt creeping in, but there was no time. She could feel the creature behind her, breathless and urgent, each whispered name a promise of doom. She couldn't trust Mr. Holloway, couldn't trust anyone. Reaching the top, Emma glanced back, her heart stumbling at the sight. The figure had paused, a terrible smile stretching across its face, eyes glinting like shards of broken glass. There was something eerily familiar in the way it stood, and realization knotted in her gut, suffocating her breath. It wasn't just a stranger, it was something she once knew, a piece of her past resurrected in a grotesque form. She burst into the first room on her left, slamming the door behind her. It was dark, the air thick with dust and an overwhelming staleness. She fumbled for a light switch, her fingers trembling. When she finally found it, a dim glow flickered to life, revealing an old nursery strewn with half-forgotten toys and memory, but her heart sank deeper as her eyes traced the walls. Pictures hung crookedly, but the faces were obscured by darkness. There were dolls staring back at her, their eyes wide with something sinister. The scratching had migrated too. Now it seemed to seep from behind the walls. "They're angry you disturbed them," Emma whispered to herself, the realization settling like a cold weight. Footsteps approached the door, slow and calculated. She backed away, holding her breath, clutching the box against her chest as if it could protect her. "Let me in, Emma," the voice purred, sweet but laden with hidden venom. "I just want to talk." But it wasn't just the thing outside that scared her. It was the lingering question in her mind: what had she really awakened? The door rattled violently, a crash as it knocked against its frame. Emma knew she had to make a choice: confront the horror outside or delve into the mysteries of the box she tried so hard to leave behind. With every ounce of courage she had left, she took one final breath and moved toward the door. What would happen when she opened it? The door shook again, uncontrollable now, as if something beyond it was fighting to get in. Emma's pulse quickened, her palms sweaty against the box. She could feel the breath of the creature on the other side, its whispers growing sharper, more impatient. "Emma! You don't know what's at stake. Open the door." Mr. Holloway's voice ricocheted through her mind. Did he know more than he let on? Thoughts swirled, curiosity mixed with dread. Would she find the answer to what was tormenting her, or was that wishful thinking? The shadows shifted, curling around her, enveloping her as she edged closer to the door. She could hear the muffled sounds of the house creaking floors, the low hum of the wind. It felt like the walls were whispering secrets. Desperate and determined, she steadied her shaking hands. Was she inviting danger, her past, back into her life by simply turning the knob? But was it truly her past? The figure outside couldn't simply be what it appeared to be. It had to be a reflection, a distortion of all she once knew. With a deep breath, she placed her hand on the cool metal of the doorknob. The rattling grew louder, an urgent pounding that vibrated her teeth. "Emma, let me in. Together we can remember what you've forgotten." Every fiber of her being screamed to run, yet she hesitated just for a moment longer. What if she could just talk? What if it held the key to understanding the turmoil swirling in her mind? "No!" she shouted, pulling her hand back. The words hung in the air, heavy and assertive. For a moment, all was still. The scratching ceased, the whispers faded. Then came the echo of a soft, chilling laugh, resonating like a distant memory surfacing from the depths of her mind. "You think you can hide from the truth? It's already here, Emma." You've always known. Her heart raced. The impending sense of dread returned. Whatever it was taunting her now. The room felt even darker with that laugh lingering in the air. The dolls seemed to lean closer, eyes glinting with a malevolent curiosity that invaded her thoughts. They felt alive, and something within the box stirred as she grasped it tighter, as if awakening from a deep sleep. What if I set them free?" she murmured, thinking aloud, her voice trembling through the thick air. Was it truly a box of horrors, or could it be a solution to bring an end to this nightmarish hallucination? The thud of her heart pulsed deafeningly, drowning out logical thought. In that moment, Emma made up her mind she would confront whatever was hidden inside the box, no matter the risks. No more second-guessing herself. With newfound determination, she steadied her breath and opened the box. The light inside flickered vividly, illuminating the shadows in the room. The contents gleamed like dark jewels, beckoning. "See?" The voice outside purred, seductive and eerily calm. "You've chosen your path." As she leaned closer, the glow intensified, bathing the room in eerie light. She could feel the pull of the items deep in her veins. What did they want from her? Suddenly, the door crashed open, swinging wide to reveal nothing but darkness beyond the figure gone. A gust of wind swept through the nursery, scattering the toys like lost whispers. Emma spun around, her heart pounding, the box clutched tightly against her chest. The real horror lurked in that very emptiness before her, the absence of the creature now feeling far worse than its presence. What had been unleashed in her choice? What awaited her in those shadows? Emma's breath quickened anew. Silence engulfed her, a void where dread clawed at the edges of her composure, but then, from behind her, the box let out a faint click, as if responding to an unseen force. Time to dig deeper, Emma, a voice whispered, more menacing than ever, echoing from the depths of the box. And just like that, she was thrust into an unknown, perilous journey into the truth she had desperately tried to avoid. What unspeakable secrets would unravel before her? What new horror awaited her in the dark? The shadows coiled tighter around Emma, filling the room with a palpable tension. The air thickened, becoming almost suffocating as she stood frozen, clinging to the box. What she had set in motion now loomed on the horizon of her understanding like a dark storm cloud, threatening to swallow her whole. The faint click resonated again, sending shivers down her spine. There was something alive within the box, something that stirred and breathed, reacting to her presence as if it had been waiting for this moment. Emma's fingers trembled as she stared into the depths of the newly illuminated contents, a collection of ornaments that sparkled with a darkness of their own, enchanted yet foreboding. "Do you really want to know, Emma?" The voice purred again, wrapped in silk but dripping with venom. "Take a closer look. You might find what you've been searching for." She hesitated, her mind racing. All her life she'd been chased by the ghosts of her past, and now they felt more real than ever. The line between memory and nightmare blurred as she wrestled with the urge to flee. Yet, her curiosity, that fierce little fire ignited by desperation, pushed her forward. With a hesitant breath, Emma leaned down again, the light from the box illuminating the surface where she could barely make out what lay within. A series of oddly shaped trinkets caught her eye, each one felt familiar, a half-formed memory hovering just beyond the edge of her recollection. Suddenly, one ornament, a small glass vial filled with a swirl of dark smoke, began to shimmer. It pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing her closer, whispering promises of forgotten truths. But as she reached out, the air turned electric, a jolt of pain shooting through her hand as if an unseen force held her back. The sudden sharpness broke her focus, breathing urgency into the stillness. "Do not touch what you cannot comprehend." The voice warned, a fierce growl now masking the previous seduction. Panic seized her chest, constricting the breath from her lungs. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears like frantic drums, drowning out logic. The nursery, once a sanctuary of innocence, morphed into a twisted hall of horrors where every corner concealed a shadow, every whisper contained a threat. Then the light dimmed abruptly, plunging her into darkness again. The room shifted, walls breathing and expanding like a living entity. She was no longer alone. The dolls, their glassy eyes now glimmering with malicious glee, seemed to move, closing in on her as if eager to consume her fear. "What do you want?" she yelled, her voice hoarse and desperate. "What do you want from me?" A soft sigh hung in the air, wrapping around her like a chilling fog. "We want you to remember, Emma. To embrace what you've tried to forget, but you must choose wisely now, if you wish to survive." Her pulse thundered in response, the finality of those words sinking in. The box held answers, secrets she had buried deep, and as much as she dreaded the truth, her heart longed for clarity. Yet within that longing lay a gnawing fear. She could unleash something even darker. Just then, the walls shivered, and footsteps echoed from the corridor outside. The entrance to the nursery beckoned to her, filled with both promised escape and impending doom. Emma took a step back, reeling under the weight of her choice. To confront the darkness that haunted her past, to uncover the truth barely glimpsed in her most fevered dreams, or to flee and relinquish all hope of understanding. A sudden vision flashed in her mind, a dark figure emerging from the shadows, Mr. Holloway's warning echoing in her thoughts. The door stood ajar, a yawning chasm between her and the unknown. Would it lead her to liberation or damnation? "Time is running out, Emma," the voice from the box hissed. Emma felt the abyss call, hungry, waiting for her decision. What was beyond that threshold? Would she dare to confront the truth, or would she succumb to the darkness creeping ever closer? The choice loomed large, and as the shadows swirled around her, she knew she had to act or be consumed. The shadows danced, a restless choreography of fear and anticipation. Emma's heart raced as she weighed her choices. Every second felt heavier, the darkness breathing around her like a predator waiting for its moment to pounce. With trembling hands, she took a step toward the door, the flickering light from the box casting grotesque shadows against the nursery walls. The footsteps grew louder, more deliberate. Her chest tightened. Escape beckoned, yet something inside her screamed to face the menace lurking in the depths of that box. Choose. The voice hissed, thick with malice. Are you so eager to flee from your past? But remember, Emma, running will not save you. Panic surged. The dolls, seemingly animated by her fear, tilted their heads ever so slightly, eyes glinting like blades ready to cut. The moment felt suspended, electric. Emma swallowed hard. She shifted her gaze back to the box. The glass veil now pulsed rhythmically, its dark smoke swirling like an invitation. Each swirl whispered secrets she buried, taunts of truths unclaimed. What had she been avoiding? What pain lay beneath that surface, itching to be released? A memory flickered. Her mother's laughter mingled with the smell of autumn leaves, then darkness swallowing it whole. That void. She had spent a lifetime trying to escape it. With an iron will, Emma shuffled back to the box, the air thickening with her resolve. I want to remember. She cried, the words a vow, a plea. Show me what I've lost. As if awakened by her declaration, the box surged with light. The contents inside began to swirl, forming an intricate dance of dark and light. The walls of the nursery trembled, the very foundations quaking. Then, a vision burst forth. A home she barely recognized, filled with laughter now glazed over by echoes of anguish. A woman with familiar eyes stood at a window, her mother. But this time, the window seemed a portal to the truth, a gateway to pain that had festered long enough. Emma, the voice cooed, softer now but laced with urgency. You must understand the gifts of your family. You must claim your legacy. There's power in the truth, but do you dare embrace it? The footsteps outside paused. Emma's breath hitched as the door creaked open, revealing a flash of movement, something darting past the threshold, cold and cloaked in shadows. It was all too much. In that moment of dread and uncertainty, she gritted her teeth and reached for the glass vial. As her fingers made contact, the room erupted in chaos. Shadowy tendrils reached out from the walls, tugging at her, desperate for her choice. No! She screamed, pulling back, feeling the cold grip of panic at her throat. Yet, it was too late. The dark smoke surged up, engulfing her hand. She gasped as the world escalated into tumult, a wild storm of emotion, fear, and a flood of memories. Something shifted inside her, awakening powers she never knew possessed. A cacophony of voices erupted, whispers of the past, fragments of her family's history echoing in her ears like a haunting symphony. And just then, realization struck with brutal clarity, this was only the beginning. As the dark disturbance roiled, images danced before her, a figure lurking just beyond her reach in the chaos, and within it, the secrets she desperately needed to confront. What had she truly unleashed? Your choice, Emma. Remember, the price of truth is steep. The voice laughed, reverberating through the nursery like a sinister lullaby, with the walls twisting around her and the shadows clawing at her very soul. Emma felt the weight of inevitability. She stood on the precipice of revelation, but at what cost? Who, or what, was that figure lurking in the shadows? And how deep would she have to dive into her darkness to face the truth that awaited her? The air shimmered with impending doom, and as she clutched the vial, she knew one thing for certain, she could never return to the girl she once was. The shadows morphed, curling around Emma like serpents hungry for warmth. She felt her heart thud violently against her ribcage, racing like a trapped animal. The dark smoke pulsed with an almost sentient energy, pressing against her skin as if it wanted to seep inside her. The cacophony of voices around her shifted, a symphony of despair, beckoning her deeper into the chaos. Embrace your legacy. The voice echoed, thick as fog. It's time to unearth your past, whether you're ready or not. Emma felt her breath hitching. The memories surged forward, images flickering like broken film reels. She saw her childhood home, a sun-soaked living room now choked with dust and despair. Her mother, alive and vibrant, her laughter now an echo drowned in sorrow. What had happened to her? Suddenly, the darkness grew sharp and pointed, curling around her feet and pulling her down toward the box, the glass veil still grasped tightly in her hand. The shadows tugged at her, urging her to give in to their weight. "Once you remember, you can never forget." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. But even as she said it, the very air thickened with dread. The figure from the shadows loomed larger, its outline becoming more defined, a sentience behind it, eyes shimmering with sadness and malice. The whispers morphed into a chant, overlapping voices leading her deeper into a wounded abyss. "Face what you fear. Every choice has a consequence. Every step, a new truth." Emma fought against the pull, her nails biting into the glass vial. She trembled, her grip almost slipping. For a moment, she considered shattering it, scattering the revelations before her into nothingness, but fear held her rooted. What would she sacrifice if she chose ignorance? Suddenly, the figure stepped forward, a fleeting glimpse revealing familiar features twisted into an expression she couldn't name. Anguish? Rage? It sent a fresh jolt of panic through her. Who was this? A specter from her past? Or a warning from her future? With a frenzied desperation, she took another step backward, yet the nursery walls constricted around her, closing in. "You cannot run from yourself." The voice boomed, demanding. "Stop!" Emma screamed, feeling the pressure build as the shadows began to serenade her with chilling lullabies. Each note plunged her deeper into uncertainty, her mind swirling as tears began to spill down her cheeks. "I want to be free. I want to be me." The moment she said "me," the shadows recoiled, as if her words had struck them. The dark smoke around her began to shake and waver, compartmentalizing memories that sputtered to life alongside the figured form. "Then face the truth," the voice responded, gentler now, as if it were coaxing her to unveil a truth she had long denied. "What waits in the shadows is merely a reflection of your deepest fears." Gathering what remained of her courage, Emma closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe. "I won't let you control me," she whispered fiercely, feeling the buried strength surging within. "Show me what I need to confront." The nursery erupted into blinding light, forcing her eyes shut against the brilliance. When she opened them, she found herself standing alone before a mirror, not the one reflecting her, but a shattered glass surface holding a myriad of fragmented truths. Each shard glimmered with memories, laughter, screams, heartbreak. As she reached forward, the glass shuddered, and 1,000 voices shrieked in unison, echoing her name. Just then, the figure emerged again, but this time, it wasn't threatening. It looked familiar, a reflection she had long lost. "Welcome back, Emma," it murmured, a haunting familiarity lacing the words. Emma's heart pounded as she stepped closer, fear and a strange sense of longing welling up inside her. Would she find salvation or only more shadows? How far would she have to go to reach the truth hiding behind that familiar face? What was her legacy, and could she grasp it without losing herself forever? The shattered surface glinted menacingly, pulling Emma in. Each shard of glass seemed to vibrate with its own echo, a cacophony of emotions emanating from them. She hesitated, stepping closer, her breath hitching in her throat. What if the reflections held more than just memories? What if they contained the pieces that could finally reveal what lay hidden in her heart? "Who are you?" she gasped, her voice trembling as she pointed to the figure standing just beyond the shards. The familiar face gazed back, eyes filled with an understanding that both comforted and terrified her. "You know me, Emma," the figure replied softly, stepping through the decaying aura of the mirror. "I'm the part of you that refuses to be silenced." With each word, the shadows around her twisted restlessly, sensing the shift in her resolve. The moment hung in the air, thick and heavy. Emma searched the face before her, feeling the warmth of recognition seep into her bones. Was this her mother? No, something felt off, distorted, like an old photograph faded by time. "I've come to guide you," the figure said with a bittersweet smile, extending an ethereal hand. "But you must be willing to see the truth, no matter how ugly or painful." The shadows deepened, wrapping around Emma's legs like sinister vines, pulling her back into uncertainty. No. She cried out instinctively, ripping her gaze from the mirror. I can't face it all. I want tea. But there can be no freedom without confrontation, her mother's visage urged, a haunting urgency ringing in her words. True strength lies in understanding where you've come from. Emma's heart raced, panic sweeping over her like a tidal wave. There it was again, that familiar ache, as if the memories of laughter and joy were choking the breath from her lungs. The shadows wove patterns of despair around her, whispering secrets of her past, and with every passing second, she felt her courage waning. Look closer, Emma, the figure insisted, stepping even nearer, the shadows pulling and pushing against her, creating a tempest of uncertainty. You've held on to those fears for too long. They're not so monstrous if you can embrace them. With a flicker of defiance, Emma's fist clenched tighter around the vial, it felt cool against her palm, a jolting reminder of what was at stake. What if the shadows were right? What if she was still trapped in the prison of her own mind? Taking a deep breath, she slowly turned back toward the mirror. What is so terrifying about the truth? She murmured. Each shard pulsed with stories of heartbreak, loss, and regret, but also of strength and resilience. Trust yourself, the figure urged, encouragement lacing her voice like the sweetness of a long-lost memory. Emma's heart thundered as the shards flickered. She reached out again, this time with renewed purpose. Show me. She shouted, desperation surging inside her. I'm ready to confront my truth. The glass splintered violently, sending shards flying like daggers through the air. A blinding light engulfed her, illuminating the darkness within. For a moment, Emma felt weightless, suspended between fear and revelation. Then, with a deafening crash, everything came rushing back. A flood of memories washed over her, more vivid than she'd ever imagined, a family torn apart, secrets buried deep, moments of love overshadowed by betrayal. As the truths enveloped her, the shadows shrieked, collapsing into a swirling mass of darkness. Emma! The figure cried as the light fractured around them, blinding her in a whirlwind of emotions. Do not look away. But as the memories bared their souls, Emma realized that the shadows had not just been her enemy, they were also her protectors. The choice hung in the balance: would she reclaim her legacy from the ashes or be consumed by them forever? Just as she felt her strength slipping, the figure's presence pinched her heart, igniting a spark of hope within the chaos. Remember, her mother's voice echoed, you are more than your fears. The mirror shattered completely, sending her spiraling away into darkness. Where would she land? And what awaited her in the embrace of the truth she had long avoided? Emma fell into the void, the world around her dissolving into a haze of color and sound. Memories rushed toward her, swirling like autumn leaves caught in an endless whirlwind. Faces she had long forgotten flashed before her, each one woven into the fabric of her life: her childhood laughter, moments once cherished, and shadows of grief that had tainted everything. Each piercing note of the past tugged at her, urging her to face the truth. You can't ignore us, they whispered, each voice echoing her own. Emma felt like a shipwrecked sailor caught in a storm. The tides threatened to pull her under, but deep inside, she found an ember of resolve, a flicker of strength barely alive but stubbornly persistent. Enough! She screamed into the tempest, eyes wide with determination. With an assertive breath, she poised her hand around the vial, remembering the feeling of control it had given her moments before. I won't let fear drown me. I refuse to let my past define me. The storm of shadows peeled back, revealing a path of light, a narrow avenue she alone would have to navigate. She stumbled forward, drawing in the air as though it were a lifeline, her resolve hardening with each step taken into the brilliance that now flickered before her. The memories shifted, morphing from chaotic echoes into a cohesive narrative. The nursery materialized around her, its once ominous aura now softened. Sunlight flooded through the windows, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air. Toys lay scattered, and the laughter of a child rang out, innocent and free. Her heart raced as something stirred within her. I remember, she murmured. The realization hit like a wave. She was not just confronting her fears, she was reclaiming her joy. The darkness had fed on her hesitations and sorrows, but each laugh, each tender moment she now recalled was a testament to her resilience and strength. The shadows that haunted her were shadows of what could have been, not who she was or could be. Suddenly, the door creaked open, revealing Mr. Holloway standing tentatively in the light. His expression was no longer that of a twisted figure lurking in the darkness. Instead, he appeared fragile, vulnerable, as if guilt had etched lines across his brow. "Emma," he said softly, his voice cracking, "I never meant for this to happen. I thought the shadows would protect you." Emma's heart softened, despite what had passed. They had both been prisoners of their fears, the neglected memories, the haunting whispers. "You're not the only one who has been in the dark," she replied. "But now, we have a choice. We can embrace the light together." Together, they stepped forward, the shadows recoiling as the warmth of camaraderie pushed back against the dark edges of the room. "We need to face our truths," she told him, feeling a sense of camaraderie she hadn't felt before. Their hands touched, and in that instant, a connection forged by understanding and shared fear held them steady as the shadows began to swirl, restless yet hesitant, sensing the shift in power. "We know who we are now," she said firmly. "You cannot control us anymore." The darkness hissed, its whispers swirling in agitation, but Emma stood tall, determination coursing through her veins. "Face it together," she shouted, her voice booming through the nursery. "We reclaim our legacy." As if in response, the lid of the box erupted open, spewing forth a tempest of light, glistening with memories and potential yet untapped. The shadows shrieked, swirling around them, desperate to claim their hold. But Emma stepped forward into the glowing chaos, and the darkness recoiled once more, the shadows cracking and splintering under the weight of the light, and then, silence fell like a blanket. The last remnants of the darkness dissolved into dust as a vibrant warmth enveloped Emma and Mr. Holloway. Her heart swelled, no longer overshadowed by fear but filled with hope and newfound clarity. The echoes of the past began to settle, their whispers now transformed into affirmations. The weight of the past no longer felt like a chain, it felt like a tapestry she could embrace and learn from. "I finally see," Emma said, turning to Mr. Holloway, who stared back at her wide-eyed. For the first time, understanding flickered in his gaze, and they both understood that they were free to define their own narratives. "It's time we changed the stories we tell ourselves," he replied, a smile creeping onto his face. As Emma and Mr. Holloway stepped outside the nursery into the brilliant light of the day, the world felt anew, filled with colors and vibrancy. They walked forward, ready to face whatever came next. The darkness had been confronted, and for the first time since she'd arrived in the apartment building, Emma breathed easy, feeling the burden of the past lifted. They stepped into a world renewed, two souls linked in understanding, ready to weave new stories together, stories of healing, acceptance, and courage. And just like that, Emma had found her way home. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think awaits our heroes next? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Let us keep the stories coming.